our fourth launch of the year from the Guiana Space Center, the first with Vega. For today's mission, Vega is set to deliver KasEOSat-1 into a Sun-synchronous orbit. KasEOSat-1 is the first Earth observation satellite to be owned and operated by the Republic of Kazakhstan. Manufactured by Airbus Defence and Space, it will supply high-resolution images enabling to monitor natural and agricultural resources, as well as providing assistance for disaster management. Developed under an ESA program and provided by ELV with ASI and Avio as shareholders, our Vega launcher will carry a total payload mass around 830 kilograms. It shall lift off at 22 hours, 35 minutes and 15 seconds local. From liftoff until spacecraft separation, the elapsed time will be about 55.5 minutes. I would like to thank warmly the Kazakh Space Agency, KasCosmos, and KGS for entrusting Arianespace with the launch of this key component of the Kazakh space program. My gratitude also goes to Airbus Defence and Space, our customer for this mission, with whom our ties date back to the early times of Arianespace and have constantly strengthened. Last but not least, this mission highlights Arianespace's leading role in the deployment of Earth observation satellite solutions. Indeed, KasEOSat-1 is the 51st satellite involving a payload dedicated to such application and orbited by our launchers. There are 10 more Earth observation satellites in our current order book assigned to the 3 launchers of our family, Ariane 5, Soyuz and Vega. But our third Vega is now being readied for launch, so enjoy the show.
Minutes. Before we go, there's some things we want to show you. A look at the launcher first. Vega has 4 stages. The first 3 are running on solid fuel, and the 4th on a liquid propellant. The 4th stage also is reignitable, which is very important because we'll see that later on. Vega is used for small satellites, roughly in the 1-ton class, for scientific and government missions, also for commercial payloads like tonight's. She completes the Ariane family, which can deliver all size missions, with Ariane 5 for heavy satellites and Soyuz for medium-sized missions. Over 1,000 people from 40 countries and industry got together to develop Vega. Very interesting story. We'll have some of it for you later on during the broadcast. We want to show you some of the top key players making the decisions tonight, making the mission happen. This is the flight deck. The high command, the top management. Stefan Israel you saw. Stefano Bianchi of ESA has been involved in the Vega program for 12 years. Caroline Arnoux is actually sitting in for Louis Laurent, who is Arianespace's Senior Vice President for Programs. We'll have an interview with him later on. You can hear him. Edward Perez, you saw, is the top technical officer and the living technical memory of all Arianespace flights. And Patrick Loire rounds out the team, who is head of the company's Kourou facilities. Anything unexpected coming up tonight, their job will be to make the decision what to do. There's Patrick Loire. Patrick Loire. Something else that we keep a close eye on before liftoff, called the green status panels. You see them coming up on the right of your screen there. What they are is a green-red go, no-go summary of everything it takes to launch and fly Vega. The Space Center here covers a vast area. It's about the size of Singapore, and offers everything it takes to prepare and fly and monitor the launch vehicle. And the people all across the base send in their information, their data on their systems. It comes in here to Jupiter, which is why it's a nerve center. And all those systems that you saw on the green status panels, the launcher, the launch base, the satellites, and the systems like navigation and safety and the weather, come in here. Now the weather is something we pay particular attention to. We have a last weather check at minus 10 minutes. We had it, and you can see all is still green. So we're go for launch. Anything out of the ordinary coming up, the green turns to red, and we momentarily stop the countdown. Other key players making the mission happen: the mission director, who is an Arianespace person, coordinating activities with the satellite teams, and the range operations manager, also called the DDO. You'll be hearing his voice calling out the key milestones before liftoff and during the flight. We had a look at the launch vehicle. We're going to turn to our passenger now. KasEOSat-1 is, as was mentioned, Kazakhstan's first Earth observation satellite, and Arianespace, of course, very happy to be part of the venture. The satellite arrived in Kourou last month and went through all of her tests and filling procedures. It will monitor natural resources, it'll do mapping, and search and rescue operations. She'll be placed in a Sun-synchronous orbit, which means over the poles, for a lifetime of 7 years plus. In 3 minutes, Vega is going to start what they call the automatic or the synchronized sequence. These are the final moments of final countdown. What happens is she's being disconnected from the ground where she's been wired up all day to make her autonomous for her mission. Key players now on the satellite side, two from Airbus, the satellite's manufacturer. These are the satellite mission managers. Theirs is the overall management role. They cover everything from designing and building the satellite through to its orbital phase, and they actually decide if it's ready to launch. KasEOSat-1 is the 485th satellite launched by Arianespace and the 108th payload built by Airbus. Up next, Vega's flight plan. You should know this. After liftoff, what happens? Propulsion of her first 3 stages, that's the P-80 first stage and the 2 Zefiro stages, will last for 6 minutes and 14 seconds exactly. Then they will fall back into the Atlantic Ocean off the French West Indies. It's then the turn of the upper stage, the 4th stage, called the Avoum, which ignites for its first burn. This will last for around 5 minutes and push the vehicle practically all the way up to Canada. Vega then goes into a ballistics or a coasting phase, which lasts 41 minutes. She continues circling the globe, and this brings her down near Australia. And she reignites, as you just saw there, for the second burn, which lasts 2 minutes. And KasEOSat-1 will be separated 1 minute after the end of that burn, separation occurring 55 minutes, 29 seconds after liftoff over Australia. 6 minutes to go. Things happen very fast with Vega. She'll lift off very rapidly from the pad. Watch that, because it's very impressive. Our final key players are the project directors from Arianespace with the customers. This is the commercial side. The project director meets with his customers daily. They are Arianespace's customer interface. All these people we've been meeting are important elements of the launch base, which is Europe's spaceport, been operating for 30 years. We're going to leave Jupiter for a moment and go up to the launch center, where you can see what's happening up there closer to the pad. Jupiter is the nerve center of the space base, but there are other places where people are working tonight, and this is one of them. The Vega Launch Center lies 15 kilometers to the northwest of Jupiter. Here, teams of about 50 are busy monitoring all the launcher operations during these final moments of the final countdown under the direction of the launch operations manager, tonight Patrick Lucet. With technical and quality teams, the organization is the same for Ariane 5, only smaller, and the Vega Launch Center was built in the same building as the Ariane 5 Launch Center. These teams are only 1 kilometer from the launch pad, but they're well protected inside a blockhouse. This gives you an idea of what's going on right now closer to the launch pad. Final Countdown is a complex and ongoing series of operations to ready the launcher, the base, and the downrange tracking stations for the mission. It's the culmination of a 3-month launcher campaign. We're waiting now for the DDO to call out the beginning of that automatic sequence that we mentioned that comes at minus 4 minutes. It's the final moments of Final Countdown. We'll wait for his announcement. This is when the computers start taking over, making the final checks to the fluid systems and to the electrical systems. We'll wait for his announcement. Like all parts of the family of Europe's launchers, Vega's separate stages arrive in Kourou by ship. The first day of the launcher campaign saw transfer of the first stage, called the P-80, from the booster integration building to the Vega launch site. Here it was slid onto its launch table. The interskirt between the first and second stages was added. Then the second stage, called the VV03, was brought horizontally from the VV preparation building where it had been stored. Here it is hoisted vertically and placed on the interskirt. The procedure is the same for the third stage, the VV09, which, with the interskirts between the second and third stages and the third and fourth stages, was erected and then placed on the VV23. Finally, the fourth stage, called the AVUM, was integrated atop the rest of the launcher. KasEOSat-1 arrived in French Guiana by cargo plane. It came from the clean rooms at Airbus Defence and Space in Toulouse. It was transferred to the preparation building where it underwent the necessary tests, then on April 11th was placed in a container and moved to the fueling building where it was filled with propellant. Combined operations with the elements of the launcher allowed us to integrate the satellite on its flight adapter. Then the two halves of the fairing were assembled to protect the satellite until its separation in flight. Once this had been completed, the composite consisting of the satellite and the fairing was transferred during the night to the launch pad and integrated atop the launcher. After filling the tanks of the AVUM upper stage with its storable propellant, the launcher was now ready for the final countdown. Joshua Jampel here, back in the booth for the final moments of the final countdown. The final countdown actually began 14 hours ago. It's a long process. The mobile gantry was rolled back 4 hours ago, and some of the operational people that you see here in Jupiter were here at about 2 this afternoon. We're coming up on the 1 minute mark, and you will hear the DDO, hopefully, call out the 1 minute mark, and we'll be into the final.
À tous de DDO, attention pour moins 1 minute.
There he was, right on time. He's going to call out the 1 minute mark.
Top, H0 moins 1 minute.
We are into the final 60 seconds of this third Vega mission. We want to say hi to all of our friends taking the broadcast in Astana at the Space Agency, to the ESA, CNES, and Arianespace offices, our industrial partners ELV Avio in Colleferro, to Airbus in Toulouse, and to all of you watching on the internet. Sit back and enjoy the show. You're watching Arianespace's Vega flight number 3, and we're launching KasEOSat-1 for Kazakhstan, the nation's first Earth observation satellite. We're going to cut away now, let you hear the DDO as he calls out the final 10 seconds in the countdown, and we'll be back after Vega has cleared the tower. Enjoy the liftoff.
À tous de DDO, attention pour la séquence finale. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, top, allumage P80, décollage. Tous les paramètres à bord sont nominaux.
Well, off she went like a shot. I told you. You saw Vega rise like an arrow, surprisingly fast. If you're used to watching Ariane, those of you familiar with the Ariane flights know that the heavier launcher rises much more slowly than Vega. The DDO is saying that all is nominal on board, everything functioning normally. After lifting off perfectly from French Guiana, beginning the third mission in her young career, Vega is flying a year after her successful second flight. The fine shots, people watching from the beaches, from their cars, and from the observation sites here around the base, getting some fine videos and photos. 136 tons at liftoff. Ariane 5 weighing over 6 times that much, remember. Vega lifting a
Les
satellite
paramètres à bord
weighing
sont nominaux.
829 kilos tonight. There are some links between Vega and Ariane, which we're going to look at in just a minute. But for now, the flight path. Vega flies over the Atlantic, north over the Bermudas, then over Canada,
La
then
trajectoire est
down
nominale.
over Russia
Le
and
pilotage est
Australia,
calme.
then back up South America from south to north. She then makes a second pass over the Bermuda Islands and Canada, then again down over Russia. And the Avum, the upper stage, will finally splash down in the southern Indian Ocean, but that's over 2 hours from now. We won't see it. What we do see is the first stage that's burning now and just been separated right on time. The first stage weighs
Séparation P80.
97 tons. The 88 tons of that are fuel. We're into the second stage
Allumage
burn.
Z23.
The second stage is called the Zefiro, ZZ-23, burns its solid rocket motor for 86 seconds. It weighs 25 tons. 23 of those are fuel. On the upper right-hand corner of her screen, you see the cursor crawling up the line there. The line is actually two lines. One is the optimal flight trajectory. The other is the real-time trajectory. As long as they're the one and the same, and they're superimposed one on another, we're right where we should be. And the cursor is, of course, Vega climbing up for her mission as she crosses the Atlantic North. Avio, an Italian firm, is responsible for production, integration, and testing of both the Zefiro second and third stages. Both are produced in Colleferro, near Rome, at their facilities. Then, like the first stage, they're loaded with solid propellant before shipped here to the spaceport, which is not very different from what's done with Ariane 5. We mentioned some of the similarities. The upper segment of the Ariane 5 booster is also loaded in Colleferro, same place, same teams, with 26 tons of solid propellant, and then shipped out here to French Guiana. Coming up in about 20 seconds is separation of the second stage. The same Ariane 5 facilities and equipment here at the Guiana propellant plant, which is at the spaceport, are used for Vega's first stage propellant loading and transport. And the stage's nozzle is also an evolution from that of Ariane 5 booster. So without Ariane 5, you don't really get Vega and vice versa. Second stage has been separated.
Séparation Z23.
And we're waiting for ignition of the third stage. The DDO will call out that confirmation. And then we will also have separation of the fairing. There is the ignition of the third stage. The 4-meter long, and there is the
Allumage
separation
Z9.
of the fairing, revealing our
Séparation de la
satellite
coiffe.
to the elements. The fairing consists of two half shells which protect the payload from shocks during Vega's ascent through the atmosphere. The industrial team is a big one working on the fairing. Italian, Spanish, German, Belgian, French, Swiss, Ukrainian, and Swedish firms all participating in the design and development of the fairing. Everything is running on schedule on board. We have a film coming up for you now on Vega's prime contractor, Avio. The third stage, called the Zefiro 9, at 4 meters long, though it's Vega's smallest solid propellant motor, has the longest burn time, about 2 minutes. We're awaiting confirmation of the shutdown of the third stage, and there it is on the animation. And we'll get confirmation of the ignition of the first stage burn. There's sometimes there it is, the ignition of the upper stage. There's sometimes a slight delay, you've noticed, in the time the telemetry information comes in here to Jupiter from downrange, which is why sometimes the cartoon animation on the screen is a bit ahead of the scheduled event before the DDO has announced. It's quite normal. The fourth stage is called the AVUM, A-V-U-M, which means Attitude and Vernier Upper Module. What's a vernier? Well, a vernier refers to the precision required by the upper stage. This because AVUM is designed to deliver different payloads into different orbits and to perform very fine satellite pointing to separate the satellites. That's what liquid propulsion can do. Solid propulsion, basically used for power to get us away from the pull of the Earth. Liquid more for precision, I'm told by my friends at ESA. More of the mission in a moment, but for now the latest news from Arianespace. April 3rd, Arianespace successfully launched the 7th Soyuz from French Guiana. The vehicle put into a Sun-synchronous orbit the European Space Agency's Sentinel-1A for the European Commission. Onboard cameras for the first time showed the perfect flight, including separation of the stages and the satellite. Arianespace confirmed its position as world leader at the annual Japan Week in Tokyo in early April. During meetings of the European Union and Japan, Arianespace highlighted its successful relationships and its position as the European launch services company of reference in Japan. 4 campaigns are going on at once here at the space base. On April 15th, Ariane 5 was moved from the Launcher Integration Building to the Final Assembly Building to integrate its 2 passengers, KasEOSat-3B for Malaysia and Australia's Optus 10. Launches for the end of May. The first 3 stages of Soyuz number 8 have been assembled in its integration building, and operations to monitor filling of the frigate upper stage are going on at this hour. Meanwhile, work continues on the new Soyuz filling facility, which will ensure more efficient launcher campaigns in the future. And the Ariane 5 that'll carry the 5th and final automated transfer vehicle is being assembled. Called Georges Lemaitre after the Belgian physicist, the ATV continues its preparation for the mission at the end of July. All is well on board. The AVUM upper stage will burn for roughly 3 more minutes. We have been picked up by the downrange tracking station in the Bermuda Islands. The first 2 tracking stations were here in French Guiana, Galliot just behind Jupiter here, and St. John about 200 kilometers west, a backup of the Galliot station. Vega's trajectory has been designed to be followed from the ground. The launcher is sending back radar and telemetry, and a network of stations keep constant watch on the health of her vital systems. Their antennas pick up the signal and follow her progress. They send what they call telemetry, which is measuring from a distance. A word from Louis Laurent, now Senior VP for Programs at Arianespace.
Thanks to the 2 successful launches in 2012 and 2013, Vega has proven to be the launch system of reference in its market segment. Our customers recognize this today, and we are preparing 10 different missions for the Vega launcher. Its successful arrival on the market gives credit, of course, to the European Space Agency, which led its development phase, and also to European industry, in particular to ELV, which brought together Avio and the Italian Space Agency. But also to the industrial partners in French Guiana, who put the launcher together at the CSG under Arianespace leadership with the support of the CSG. To meet this demand, we ordered 10 additional Vega launchers from European industry at the end of last year. This brings to 14 the number currently in production, which ensures us with 5 years of work. Today, our main job is the industrialization of the system, based on what we learned from the 2 previous campaigns. This industrialization will let us move from a single one-to-one production to a more regular production of scale. This will let us increase the rate, something we need. We launched once in 2012 and once in 2013, and we are aiming to launch twice this year and 3 times next year in 2015. It will also mean greater mastery of quality and makes us more competitive. As an example, the length of the launcher preparation campaign was reduced 35% between the last launch and this one. So you see, 2 years after its arrival, the Vega launch system has definitely found its place in the family of launchers operated by Arianespace.
While you were watching the interview, we were picked up by our next downrange tracking station in Quebec at Saint-Hubert. Saint-Hubert is the headquarters of the Canadian Space Agency, and there are several facilities there, including ground stations that track the International Space Station, in which Canada, of course, plays a big role. While we're waiting for confirmation of cutoff of the first AVM burn, we can return to Earth for a moment just to mention that Vega's launch pad was built on the old Ariane 1 pad, which was called ELA-1. That's another link between the two programs. ELA-1 was dismantled in 1991, and rebuilding it began at the end of 2004. Pad was modified for Vega, got the new mobile gantry, and some
Première extinction de l'AVM.
And there is the first AVM extinction called out by the DDO. With the first AVM burn accomplished, Vega is now going to move into a transfer orbit. She's coasting, and she'll coast for about 40 minutes, as we mentioned, and be reoriented. We mentioned Vega's flying north tonight to take her passenger into a Sun-synchronous orbit. We can fly to the east and the north from this space base. The Sun-synchronous or polar orbit is different from a geostationary transfer orbit where the majority of telecommunication satellites go, and which is the usual Ariane mission. We launch to the east for that, although Ariane has been used for this type of launch as well. To place a satellite into geostationary transfer orbit, we launch over the Atlantic toward Africa. In our next film, we go to Jacques Breton of Arianespace for a commercial outlook on the Vega launcher.
With today's launch, we have 10 contracts in our order book for Vega. 50% of these contracts are for export missions for several non-European countries. 80% of these missions are for Earth observation. This is a very active market with very different requirements from mission to mission in terms of mass, volume, orbit. So we have to be creative in order to generate configuration with several satellites, several customers, in order to bridge the gap between constrained budgets and our costs. In that respect, we learned from our manufacturing and launching experience in order to industrialize our processes, in order to generate and continue to generate attractive proposals and confirm the success of Vega on the Earth observation market. In that respect, we have several proposals in the final evaluation process, and good news could be expected in the coming months. Concerning the Arianespace launcher family, we have now to deliver the service our customers are expecting with Ariane 5, Soyuz, Vega, launching month after month, as fortunately we have a very busy schedule in the coming years. On the pure commercial side, stay tuned, as several announcements should be made in the coming hours or days.
And one bit of good news already, Arianespace announced just today that it signed yesterday another contract with Indonesia for a satellite called BRISAT, weighing 3.5 tons, to be launched on an Ariane 5 in 2016. The Italians responsible for the Vega program wrote the first essays on solid propulsion. It's something they've been working on since, I think, the 16th century. And of course, as was mentioned, they're the ones who made the solid boosters for Ariane 3, 4, and 5. Vega actually grew out of an early US missile program called Scout. In our next film, you'll be hearing from Talgat Busabayev, chairman of the Kazakh Space Agency.
Today, for the first time in its history, the Republic of Kazakhstan launches a high-resolution satellite for remote sensing of Earth. The satellite has been developed together with our strategic partner, Airbus Defence and Space. Together with our company, Kazakhstan Garrish Safari, the project was completed in 4 years. 5 years ago, after our President Nazarbayev's visit to France, our country and France became strategic partners. And today brings the proof of it. Today we see the first result of our cooperation in space. The first remote sensing satellite is being launched today from Kourou. It fills us with great pride for both our people and the French Republic. Congratulations to all who participated in preparation of this launch, those involved in space technology. We thank our French colleagues involved in training of our experts to perform this mission. We wish you all great success.
We mentioned Italy using the Scout missile from the 60s to the 80s. While they were using Scout, a separate Italian project called Zefiro was developing bigger boosters with a new technology based on carbon fiber winding. You saw some of that in one of the films earlier. Zefiro later became the backbone of Vega and was used in its ultimate design as you see, the second and third stage engines. Vega is Vettori di Generazione Avanzata, sorry for my Italian, or Advanced Generation European Vehicle. More on our passenger coming up. We have a film which will tell us more about the Kazakh Space Agency with its acting president.
Launch of a high-resolution spacecraft is a great event for the Kazakh garage sappery. A solidly targeted work has been performed together with our strategic partner, Airbus Defence and Space. Congratulations to all of us. Today, our experts are ready to operate a system of remote sensing of Earth. Airbus Defence and Space trained us 24 engineers and 21 technicians. A second launch is planned for June this year of a medium-resolution spacecraft, which is another fruit of our cooperation. We rejoice that now Kazakhstan will have its own technologies of remote sensing in the interests of national economy and security. Another big project is underway, construction of a facility for spacecraft assembly and testing. I wish you all good luck, success in your work, and great achievements for all.
These first 3 Vega flights are all testing a different configuration of the launch vehicle. The first flight carried a special and rather complicated payload and platform with a main passenger and 7 small satellites of 1 kilo each. They were called CubeSats, made by students at European universities. The second flight tested the carrying structure, which is called Vespa. The Vespa is like the Silda, if you're familiar with Ariane, letting us have an additional passenger. And tonight we're testing a simpler configuration with a single satellite and an adapter. In our next film, you can learn even more about KasEOSat-1. KasEOSat-1 is the first in a series, we are told, of Earth observation satellites for the Republic of Kazakhstan. And there's a parallel launch for the country. Another of its satellites is set for launch from the Baikonur Cosmodrome today or tomorrow, depending on your time zone. This is its third geostationary communication and broadcast satellite called KasSat-3. KasSat-3 is part of the nation's communication and broadcast system, which includes already 2 spacecraft and 2 ground facilities which control and monitor the network. Our next film features an interview with Francois Auque, who's the chairman of Airbus Defence and Space, builders of KasEOSat.
Airbus Defence and Space is very proud to launch today KasEOSat-1. This satellite is the most sophisticated we have ever built for a non-European government. It will allow Kazakhstan full autonomy in collecting and mapping of data. But more than that, it's only one step in our strategic partnership with KasCosmos and Kazakhstan Garich Sapari. In a few weeks, we will launch another satellite and we will ramp up our joint venture called GALAM with Kazakhstan Garich Sapari. Indeed, we are very proud of this partnership, and I would like to thank the Kazakh President, Mr. Nazarbayev, the Kazakh government, and KasCosmos, Kazakhstan Garich Sapari for their trust. In other terms, Ülken Harmet.
Like all stars, Vega is booked years in advance for her work. This contract was signed in 2012 when the satellite was still known as DZZ-HR. Small satellites date back to the late 1990s when space agencies around the world started developing them. There was a real market need. ESA estimates that between 2009 and 2011, for example, 7 single payload launches could have been performed by Vega, which was of course still in development then. ESA wanted its own small satellite launch system, as neither Ariane nor Soyuz is adapted to this type of small payload. Development of Vega cost in the region of 700 million euros, funded through ESA contributions from 8 member states: Italy, France, Germany, Spain, Belgium, the Netherlands, Switzerland, and Sweden. Another 76 million euros came from direct industrial investment from Avio in development of the P-80 first stage. We're going to come up shortly on a replay of the launch, and you can see Vega rise again from the launch pad as she did about 25 minutes ago. Before we go to that, we're going to take a look at the replay coming up in just a moment, and you can relive those exciting moments as Vega took off just like a shot, just like an arrow, from the launch pad here in French Guiana on her 3rd mission. After the replay, we'll be back. We are going to let the album continue its work, and we're going to cut away for just under half an hour, 24 minutes exactly. We'll be back with you then. You don't want to miss it. You'll see separation of our passenger, KasEOSat-1. In the meantime, you can follow all the action on the 3D animation there on the left and on the curve on the right of your screen. So enjoy the break, everybody. We'll see you back here in just under half an hour. See you then. Welcome back. Joshua Jampel here once again. Hope you enjoyed the interlude and continued to follow Vega's progress, which has been perfect. all is well on board. If you just joined us, here's the story so far. We had successful liftoff of Vega on time at 23:35 local in Kourou, an hour earlier U.S. Eastern, 3:35 a.m. Paris, 7:35 breakfast time in Astana. First, second, and third stages all burned perfectly. The fourth stage was ignited on time for the first burn and was cut off on time at plus 11 minutes 53 seconds. Since then, we've been coasting. And at this moment, we are waiting for confirmation of ignition of the second burn in the upper stage, due at plus 52:35
Acquisition de la télémesure lanceur par la station de Perth.
in 2 minutes. And the DDO has just called out acquisition of Vega's signal
Est toujours
from the station at Perth. That's the next downrange tracking station. So we've been picked up by Perth. All is still nominal on board. Up ahead, second AVM ignition in 2 minutes. Second AVM extinction 2 minutes after that at plus 54 minutes, 32 seconds. And the big event, KasEOSat-1 separation at plus 55:30. So 5 minutes to go, 4 minutes to go until separation. Another place where things are happening tonight, this is the Real-Time Visual Control Center. It's located just behind Jupiter here in Kourou. Their facilities are atop a hill. Here, the teams are analyzing the data coming in from the ground stations along Vega's flight path. The data are then treated to reconstitute the entire mission. After that, the entire flight is recreated in figures from liftoff to well after satellite separation and analyzed again in a delayed time. Now, the fact that the Real-Time Visual Control Center lies on a hill is important because it was one of the reasons the French government chose French Guiana in 1964 when it wanted to build a new base. There were 14 possibilities, including sites in Australia and Scandinavia. But it's here that Europe found everything it was looking for. Nearby hills where radar and telemetry facilities can be installed to easily follow the launcher during her trajectory. And an opening on an ocean to make possible flying both north and east, as we mentioned, for polar orbits like tonight and geostationary orbits. The opening on the Atlantic here also means we fly over an area that offers low risk to the local population. And the local population itself was another consideration because they were looking for a low population density. 200,000 people living in French Guiana in 91,000 square kilometers. Most of the nation is Amazon forest, as you've probably noticed if you've been here. And most of the population lives along the coast. We have on the screen the animation, and there's the confirmation by the DDO of the second AVM ignition coming right on time. On board the AVM are all of Vega's avionics, which provide the flight control, mission management, telemetry, power supply, and distribution. A word on the partners, or who does what in the Vega program. We haven't really mentioned this. ELV holds industrial architect responsibility, industrial prime contractor. Avio is primary industrial partner. VV03 is prime contractor for the ground segment. ESA, responsible for implementation of the program and technical and financial management. The Italian space agency, ASI, provides 50% of the funding. CNES led the project team for the first stage development. And Arianespace, as with Ariane and Soyuz, holds exclusive rights to operate, market, and sell the Vega launch services. Arianespace also supervising the integration and the inspection of the launcher that's built by ELV. Everything is going swimmingly on board, the DDO keeps saying. Another minute in the AVM burn. There are currently 10 Vega missions in the Arianespace order book. 80% of them are for Earth observation missions like tonight's, and 50% of them, I should say, are for government and state institutions. So the launcher has a big future in this growing market. We're awaiting now confirmation of the shutdown of the second AVM burn, nearing the end of the mission. You'll see the nozzle on the left shut down, and then you'll hear the confirmation from the DDO as the telemetry comes back in here to Jupiter from downrange. On the right, in gold, is the satellite. And there's the extinction of the AVM. We're at 748 kilometers up. One interesting note, Vega was one of the names proposed back in 1972 for what became Ariane. Other names proposed were Phoenix, Lyra, Cygnus, Ganymede, and Penelope. Bet you didn't know that. I bet you didn't know why Vega was rejected and Ariane chosen. Why? Because it was also at the time the name of a brand of a Belgian beer, which no longer exists, no longer made. Coming up on separation of KasEOSat-1, the technicians here in Jupiter have their eyes on their computer screens and their ears to the phones, waiting for news or waiting to give news. A rather strong emotional moment. You don't want to say tense, but it's intense, focused, concentrated. Tonight representing years of work for many here.
Séparation du satellite KasEOSat-1.
And there's the good news. Smiling faces all around. Vega has delivered her passenger KasEOSat-1. The mood very buoyant here in Jupiter and across the Space Center and at all the points and posts where people are working or following the launcher and the satellites. Work is just beginning, or soon will be, at all the different ground stations and at the other centers around the world where the satellites' first maneuvers are being monitored. And some of those early first maneuvers, there will be an automatic sequence with deployment of the solar panels in 12 minutes. That's 12 minutes after separation. First contact with ESA's ground station in Kiruna, Sweden, will come at 4 hours and 30 minutes after separation, 4.5 hours from now. Downloading of the first image directly to the Astana ground station occurs on May 1st. End of the early orbit LEOPS phase occurs on May 5th. And the handover from Toulouse to Astana scheduled for mid-May. So from the tense moments just minutes ago, you can see the change of mood here. And this is echoed around the world at the outposts and offices where people involved are following the happy outcome of events. We're going to go to another replay of the liftoff. Not a very long one, but you get the idea. Vega's mission is over, but the broadcast is not. We're waiting for the traditional post-launch speeches. We'll be hearing from Stéphane Israël, another replay from another angle coming up, much closer. We'll be hearing from Stéphane Israël of Arianespace, also from Talgat Masabayev of the Kazakh Space Agency, and from Francois Auque of Airbus. There you see what happens. The satellite pushed away from the mothership by a series of springs to begin her life. Francois Auque, we mentioned, will be speaking of Airbus. These gentlemen will shortly be making their ways out from the fishbowl into the VIP section. Stéphane Israël is at the podium. And
Mesdames et messieurs les représentants des pouvoirs publics et les dirigeants des agences spatiales, mesdames et messieurs les élus de Guyane et de Métropole, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests. So after a rather long night and day, it is my pleasure to confirm the third successful launch of Vega and to announce the perfect separation of KasEOSat-1, the first Earth observation satellite to be owned and operated by the Republic of Kazakhstan on its targeted Sun-synchronous orbit. Yesterday and today are very special days for the Kazakh Space Agency KasCosmos, with the launches of its third telecommunication satellite, KasAT-3, from the Baikonur Cosmodrome, and of its first remote sensing satellite, KasEOSat-1, from the Guiana Space Center. 2 successes in 2 days. I want to congratulate KasCosmos for this remarkable achievement, and particularly its president, Mr. Talgat Musabayev, veteran of 3 space flights on Soyuz, who honors Earth with his presence tonight. I should say that Talgat Musabayev is a real legend in the worldwide space community, and it is a privilege to have a legend sitting right in front of us this evening at CLG. Thank you very much. I must say that having spoken late evening with Talgat Musabayev, I had the feeling to be in gravity. It was before the Chablis, but it was really like in the movie. So congratulations once again. KasEOSat first application are important to the sustainable development of the Republic of Kazakhstan. I am very grateful to KasCosmos and Kazakhstan Garish Sapari, KGS, represented tonight by its president, Mr. Marat Nurguzin, for having entrusted Arianespace with the launch of this key component of the Kazakh space program. Thank you very much. My congratulations and gratitude extend to Airbus Defence and Space, KasEOSat first designer and manufacturer, and our direct customer for this mission. The way Airbus delivered on its promises, whether technical or programmatic, especially regarding the schedule, is impressive. So I really want to thank deeply François Hauck, Airbus DS Executive Vice President, and all his teams for continuing the long-standing partnership that we have always relied on since Arianespace creation in 1980. This is the third consecutive success for Vega. We are planning for a fourth one by the end of this year, launching IXV for ESA. Developed under the leadership of ESA, Vega owes a lot to the Italian launch industry, led by Vega's prime contractor, ELV, and its shareholders, Avio and ASI, the Italian space agency. My gratitude thus goes to Pierluigi Pirelli, ELV's chief executive officer, for defining modernity with such a perfect rocket. Vega has already experienced great commercial successes, with 50% of its contracted launches intended for export customers outside the EU. With 13 more launch vehicles already ordered to ELV, the strong partnership between Arianespace and the Italian launch industry is in full swing and covers the needs until the end of 2018 at least. Last but not least, I also want to pay a tribute to all the teams who were involved in Vega's ground operations here on site, whether from our industrial partner, from CNES CHG, or from Arianespace. This campaign has been outstanding. The numerous improvements that have been implemented to decrease Vega's processing time by as much as 35%, as well as the total mobilization from the teams and their remarkable efforts, draw our admiration and boost our competitiveness. So, bravo, merci beaucoup, grazie mille to all the teams involved in these campaigns. And I want to give a special congratulation to the Arianespace team for the way they have overcome the anomaly encountered yesterday evening. With 4 launches in 4 months, we are now back on track to achieve our operational goal for this year, performing 12 launches from the Guiana Space Center and thus breaking the previous record of 10 launches in a calendar year. It will be challenging, but it is the first time since 2002 that Arianespace has orbited 6 payloads in less than 4 months from January to April. Busy time here in CSG. Et je veux dire en français à tous les salariés de la base que je sais à quel point leur
I'd like to say in French to all the staff here on the base that their commitment is the key to our success. Once again, thank you to all of you in Guyana working every day here at CSG to ensure the success of our launches.
I am pleased to inform you and our viewers that Arianespace has just signed in Indonesia 1 launch contract for a small geostationary satellite with BRI, which is its first telecommunication satellite. And we have some other good news to come for Ariane. So I now leave the floor to our distinguished customers and partners. Thank you very much for your attention.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am not speaker, I am an astronaut. I have a very short speech. Let me greet you all on behalf of the government of the Republic of Kazakhstan, represented by the National Space Agency of the Republic of Kazakhstan. Today we are witnessing a historic event. The first Kazakh remote sensing satellite begins its spaceway. This is the first practical result of the strategic partnership between Kazakhstan and France in the field of space activities. Today we can say with confidence that the task that set by the heads of our states on cooperation in the peaceful exploration of space is performed consistently and effectively. I would like to congratulate and thank all the participants of this launch, all French and Kazakh specialists who worked hard to implement the project successfully for nearly 5 years. I wish you all prosperity and success in our space plans. Thank you from all of us to all of you. Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, first, I would really like to thank our customer, because customer has to be first. And our customer is the Republic of Kazakhstan, but particularly KasCosmos, Mr. Talgat Musabayev, Kazakhstan Garish Sapari, Mr. Murat Nogurzin. I would really like to thank you for your trust. And I measure the honor which has been given to Airbus Defence and Space 5 years ago to become the strategic partner of Kazakhstan. This honor creates duty from us. And believe me, we will deliver our duty. So this is the first step. This is the first step of an outstanding cooperation. We have other milestones, which I have already quoted, ongoing. Another satellite will be launched next month. We are, together with you, developing the SBIC, and we will jointly produce some space elements in Kazakhstan. So, once again, thank you very much. And I want to say that after 5 years of working together, already it goes beyond cooperation. I think that we are in the stage of friendship. And I would like to thank you for this wonderful human experience. I want, of course, to thank and congratulate Arianespace for this perfect launch. This has been an outstanding job. Being a prime contractor for Ariane, I know all the challenges of being a service provider. I know what it means. I know all the reliability, all the skills behind that. And I really want to thank the wonderful team of Arianespace and the ELV team, which has delivered this splendid launch. And of course, I want to finish by a few words for my team, my satellite team, my wonderful satellite team, which has been extremely successful. Today, Airbus Defence and Space is by far the largest export company for Earth observation satellites in the world, by far. And this is deserved. This is deserved because we have, I think, in terms of product, the best value for money, thanks to our technology. And we have a wonderful team of entrepreneurs. Their pleasure is to go to compete worldwide and to win. So thank you very much. I think that we have all around this room really
wonderful people, and this is the excitement of space. Thank you very much for achieving that. Thank you.
Bonsoir à tous. En Italie, on dit
Good evening.
non c'è due senza tre.
In Italy, you say never two times or with three times. So a third successful launch, and that is the beginning of a very promising statistics. I'd like to say three things. Vega is the result of an outstanding European cooperation. Europe that we increasingly need, and today even more than in the past. As for us, we want to be more in Europe. Vega is a cutting-through program in terms of technology, with industrial responsibility, and part of the skills are based in Italy. We want to be a leader in Europe, and Vega is the best available product in its class, thanks to its technologies, which are both innovative and dedicated to cost efficacy. Vega is the best place in a very competitive market. Along with Europe, we want to operate globally. I want to congratulate and thank all teams in Guyana, in Europe and in Italy who worked with great dedication for this successful launch. Grazie a tutti. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll say a few words on behalf of Jean-Yves Le Gall, who could not be with us for this second attempt, and he conveys his apologies, but due to his very busy agenda, he had to be back in Paris tonight. So what a wonderful countdown. Trust me, the emotion load is not proportionate to the size of the launcher, you can believe me. We experienced something absolutely fantastic tonight. I'd like to congratulate all the people involved in this beautiful success that we offered to both Europe and to Kazakhstan, that we offered to Talgat Musayev, the president of the Kazakh Space Agency. Mr. Musayev, you came here for the launch of this Earth observation satellite. You who took part in so many launches in Baikonur, and by the way, a few hours ago in Baikonur, another Kazakh satellite for telecommunication was launched, and it was a successful launch, so I want to congratulate you for that as well. This shows that space activities are booming in your country, and we're very proud to have you as a partner. I also want to thank you for what you said when you toured the Guiana Space Center today. And quite obviously, our facility, you were very impressed with our facilities, and more specifically, our ability to launch 3 different types of launchers in less than 5 weeks. That's one of the expertise of CSG. We provide reliable launching facilities despite operational complications. All this was not built in a month, not built in a year. It was built in 10 years, thanks to all the efforts of workers, engineers, technicians who developed these 3 launching systems here in Guyana, and I really want to congratulate them. But this is also the result of the decisions made by ESA their support and their proactivity, because they anticipated that we would need a full range of launchers to be able and place in orbit all the satellites for all our clients. They also supported us in installing Soyuz here in French Guiana. They also anticipated and understood our needs to make this the most efficient launch base in the world, and helped us having the most optimized launching solutions. They also support us in developing the future launchers, optimizing technologies like on Vega with the solid propellant stage, which will be a forerunner for the development of Ariane 6. I'd like to congratulate all the people to whom we owe this success, the fourth here at CSG for 2014. So congratulations to ELV, congratulations to people in Rome, to people in Evry, to people at CSG, not forgetting the state authorities supporting us as well. And of course, congratulations to the satellites, to Airbus Defence and Space in Toulouse, France. And a few words to congratulate our elected representatives, especially those from Guyana, to tell them then that our successes are also those of Guyana and could not be achieved without their support. So thank you very much and good night. Well, as a matter of fact, before we start celebrating, I wanted to say that we'll meet again on the 28th of May. This will be a commercial launch for two operators in the Asia-Pacific area, KasEOSat-3B for Measat Malaysian operator and Optus 10 for the Australian operator Simtel. So, we'll meet again in a month's time, and that will keep the tempo we are targeting for this year. Thank you all. Thank you to our customers, and I wish you a very pleasant evening. Thank you.
Well, there you have it. Vega's third launch a success. A new satellite beginning life tonight for the Republic of Kazakhstan. Congratulations to everyone involved. Tomorrow the experts will start going over the first data from the launcher, but it'll take at least 6 months to comb through them fully and really understand all the information about the flight so that the teams can take any actions that may be needed to the software or to other equipment. But soon, like Ariane 5, Vega will start herself accumulating her own vast technical library. All that's left for us is to say goodbye, and we'll do that over these fine shots of the launch replay. Arianespace once again delivered tonight with Vega, which has placed into orbit KasEOSat-1 for Kazakhstan, the nation's first Earth observation satellite. Vega now a proven success story for this emerging market of Earth observation satellites. 10 Vega missions in all are in the Arianespace order book, and 14 launchers are in production. The next Arianespace launch, as Stefan Israel said, is in late May, a month from now. It's an Ariane 5 with 2 telecommunications satellites, another international launch. We'll be here. We hope you will be too. Until then, on behalf of everyone here at the Spaceport, Europe's Spaceport, the Guiana Space Center, Joshua Jean-Paul saying thanks for being with us. We hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time. Good night, everybody.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's a beautiful sunny launch day here at the European spaceport in French Guiana. Welcome to our YouTube Live Road to Space. We are transporting a South Korean satellite today, KasEOSat-1. 안녕하세요. Hello, South Korea. Great to have you with us. KasEOSat-1 is flying on board a Vega C rocket. It's tucked up safely inside that fairing at the very top of the rocket. And we are about 15 kilometers from that pad in the Mission Control Center, very much the nerve center of operations. You can see the teams there behind what we call the fishbowl, the glass, the protective glass. I'm Katie Haswell, and joining me here in the commentary box is our expert, our rocket expert from Arianespace, Vincent Baudin. Thanks for being with us, Vincent.
Hi, Katie. Great to be here.
How are things looking for the launch?
Absolutely, sorry. So all systems are green, and we are ready for liftoff.
Okay, that's scheduled in 9 minutes' time. What's going to happen after that?
Yes, the launcher lifts off towards the North power by 3 solid propellant stages, each one separating after finishing its job. The fairing is jettisoned once the launcher leaves the atmosphere, and after the Avum Plus upper stage is then ignited for 10 minutes, putting the launcher in an intermediate orbit. After a coast phase over the North Pole and down to East Asia, the Avum Plus ignites its engine again to reach the final targeted orbit, and the spacecraft is then separated from the launcher. The upper stage enters a new coast phase before a third boost to re-enter the atmosphere over the Indian Ocean.
Indeed, a lot to look forward to there coming up in the next 50 minutes or so. Now, we are launching KasEOSat-1 for the Korea Aerospace Research Institute, KARI. Let's find out more about our satellite.
High above our planet, a new lens begins its work. On board Vega C, KasEOSat-1 prepares for liftoff, a mission that will push boundaries and serve humanity. Developed by the Korea Aerospace Research Institute for the Korea Aerospace Administration, on behalf of the Korean government, KasEOSat-1 marks the next evolution in Korea's Earth observation program. In an era when understanding our planet has never been more vital, KasEOSat-1 will deliver high-resolution images to the Korean government as the primary user, as well as to civil and global partners to support international cooperation. Once in orbit, it will support geographic information system applications, along with environmental, agriculture, and ocean monitoring. It will also help track natural disasters by detecting forest fires, volcanic activity, waste heat pollution in lakes and rivers, flood damage, and urban heat islands. The impact of this mission will turn pixels into insight and insight into action. With fire and precision, Vega C will propel KasEOSat-1 into space, a statement that accuracy and innovation can orbit together.
Indeed. And the job of preparing the rocket and the spacecraft here at the spaceport actually started a couple of months ago. We call that process the launch campaign.
Yes, so actually we can prepare several different launches, so at the same time here at the base, so that's very great for our customers.
It really is. And our cameras have been following the KasEOSat-1 launch campaign as the teams have been preparing for today. There have been quite a lot of activities over that time. What's been happening?
So the launch campaign starts with the preparation of the launcher, with first the P120 booster installed on the launch pad. Then we transfer the second stage, the VV03, to the launch zone where it was tilted and lifted inside the mobile gantry and finally integrated on top of the first stage. We followed the same logic with the third stage, the VV09, and transferred to the launch zone. It's lifting inside the mobile gantry and integration on top of the second stage. And finally, the Avum Plus upper stage arrived in its container by road. It was lifted on the upper platform and mated on top of the third stage. In the meantime, the KasEOSat-1 spacecraft arrived by plane in French Guiana. It was prepared and fueled in the CSG clean rooms and finally mated on its adapter and encapsulated inside the fairing. Once completed, the payload assembly composite was transferred to the launch zone by night. It was lifted inside the mobile gantry up to the upper platform, where it was finally prepared and integrated on top of the launcher. The ventilation inside the fairing was then adjusted in order to ensure the best condition for the spacecraft. And after that, final checks and verification performed during the last day. The mobile gantry was removed today, 4 hours ago, and we are fully ready now for the liftoff.
Indeed we are, here in the final phase now, coming up to the final phase of the final countdown, coming up to the beginning of the synchronized sequence, the automatic sequence. That's the last 4 minutes.
Yes, Kitty, so during this time the rocket will become progressively autonomous, so computers will manage a complex sequence of operations.
Attention pour la séquence finale lanceur.
Xavier Nero getting ready to call that out.
Top H0, moins 4 minutes.
So, the Range Operations Manager has announced the beginning of the synchronized sequence, an important moment, as you say, those final operations timed to the millisecond. Now, we have a number of control rooms on the job today. We've been focusing a lot so far on mission control and the teams here. We have another control room called Launch Control, and the teams there are very much dealing with everything to do with the rocket and the pad, and very much pre-launch, isn't it, Vincent?
Yes, so let's compare the rocket with an airplane. So the launch control is a bit like the cockpit. The teams here are in charge of preparing the rocket and checking it, and they monitor all these final ops before launch. And of course, after launch, the rocket goes on autopilot. There is 2 teams, one operational team, running the different operations and procedures, and one technical authorities team checking that everything goes well.
All watching eagerly there and monitoring events now in the countdown. We have another room at Colleferro, which is just south of Rome in Europe.
Yes, these are the teams from Avio, the technical authority who manufactures the rocket. So they are checking from Italy the launcher behavior, they are analyzing the data, and people from different teams such as propulsion, structure, control and so on are available and ready to jump in support in case of need.
Always good to have as many people as possible ready to jump in, as you say. And we're coming up now to 2 minutes to launch. Vega standing tall there on her pad. You can see the lightning towers, the umbilical cords. Talk us through what we're looking at.
Yes, so we can see now the launcher ready on its launch table. We can see here now the fairing on top of the launcher. So there is still electrical and ventilation links, umbilicals, yes, for electrical checks and ventilation in order to ensure the best condition inside the fairing cavity for our passenger tonight, KasEOSat-1. So everything goes well and we are ready, fully ready for liftoff.
Everything is green, and as you say, KasEOSat-1 up there in its first-class compartment, waiting to lift off with some nice air conditioning, keeping nice and cool. And you can see on the right-hand side, all the status panels are green. The various different systems sending their status here to these.
À tous le DDO, attention pour moins 1 minute. Top, H0 moins 1 minute.
We are 1 minute to launch. We are live at the European spaceport in French Guiana, getting ready to orbit KasEOSat-1 for the Korea Aerospace Research Institute, KARI. Good luck, everyone.
À tous le DDO, attention pour le décompte final. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Allumage P120, décollage. Le pilotage est calme, la propulsion est nominale. Acquisition de la télémesure par la station de Saint-Jean-du-Maroni.
Vega C and KasEOSat-1 have started their journey. Vega C pushing itself against the gravity of our planet into the equatorial skies over the Guiana Space Center. We are heading out north over the Atlantic. Look at that. Beautiful clear skies here with some fluffy clouds. He's telling us that everything is going according to plan. And didn't you see how quickly the rocket lifted off into the sky?
Yes, very quickly. That's due to the type of the propulsion used by the launcher. So the first 3 stages burn solid propellant, and that gives a lot of power, and the launcher needs that power to tear itself away from Earth.
Indeed, and that's the job of the first 3 stages, to tear us away from gravity, which is pulling us back down. Everything's going well, he's telling us. And right now we are burning, that's the engine that you can see is actually the P20 engine. It's the engine on the first stage. It's very powerful, isn't it?
Yes, P120, so very powerful first stage, thrust at liftoff of 4,300 kilonewton. It's delivering the punch of approximately 440 tons of force, so that's a lot of energy packed into a single solid rocket motor.
Fantastic images there of the P120 burning. The next event will be the switching off of that engine. That's coming up in a few seconds' time. And we can see it there.
Séparation du P120.
And we have confirmation from the range operations manager that the P120 has been separated, and we've switched on the engine of the Z40. Everything is going well, so we don't need that anymore, so we can jettison it. And we are shedding weight. We are now burning the Z40, the second stage, Vincent.
Yes, the second stage called VV03, Z for Zefiro, Z40, Italian, yes, for a type of wind.
You can see on the left-hand side are the events that will be coming up during the launch, and the blue line, if you like, at the bottom is us flying into space, and he's telling us that everything is going normally. And on the bottom right-hand side of your screen is the altitude, our distance from the pad, and our speed in kilometers per second. Good shot of the fairing there, protecting our satellite.
Yes, fairing on top of the launcher, so it has a different job. So it's protecting the spacecraft against the acoustic vibration at liftoff. It's also protecting against friction when the launcher flies through the dense part of the atmosphere, and that aerodynamic friction generates a significant environment, and for instance vibrations, of course, and heat for the spacecraft. And once we exceed the atmosphere, this aerodynamic loads reduce, so we can jettison the fairing, and the principle is to avoid dragging mass that is no longer useful for the launcher mission.
Indeed, that's the name of the game, to jettison every section of the rocket as we fly, as we no longer need it. Coming up now on our next big moment, switching off of the Z-40, separating the Z-40.
Allumage du Z9. Tous les paramètres à bord sont normaux.
And he's confirmed we've switched the engine on the Z9. Everything's going normally.
Séparation coiffe.
And we have separated the fairing. You can see it there on the animation, falling away into halves. We don't need it anymore because we've crossed the border with space, so we are outside the dense part of the atmosphere, and we don't really need it, have to worry about friction. We can see our satellite for the first time, Vincent.
Yes, the satellite for the first time on top of the launcher, so secured on top, on the adapter with a specific metallic belt called the clamp band, yes.
And quickly, just to explain here, on the top right-hand side of your screen, you can see the green line is the trajectory.
Yes, the trajectory. So in green, and in the yellow curve give us a real-time trajectory, so we can see that we are perfectly on track, in line with the prediction, and the cross is the real-time position of the launcher.
We've started something that we call Orbit Optimized Guidance Attitude. What's that?
Yes, the onboard computer continually recalculates its position. This is to make sure that it's on the right course, and if it deviates, it corrects its position and comes back to the planned trajectory. So this is clever sequence, of course, with a very good onboard computer we have on the launcher.
Looking here at these CGI images, computer-generated images, or 3D, as they are sometimes known. It's an animation. It's an animation based on what's expected to unfold in space at this very moment. And he has just announced here the pushing of the Z9, poussée du Z9 in French. So yeah. And these computer-generated images are actually a simulation. It's not the actual telemetry, is it?
Yes, a simulation. So this is 3D animation that shows the predicted behavior of the launcher, not the real behavior coming from the telemetry. So it includes, of course, the trajectory in terms of velocity, altitude, ground track, the different stages separation, and but also all the launcher maneuvers.
Séparation du Z9.
And we have separation there.
Yes.
Of the Z9. That's confirmed.
Allumage du premier boost AVOM.
And we have the first switching on of the Avon Plus upper stage engine confirmed. That's going to burn for about 9.5 minutes.
Par la station de Saint-Jean, acquisition des mesures par la station de Bermude.
And he's also confirmed that we've picked up the signal at the tracking station in Bermuda, which is a very beautiful island in the Caribbean. There you go, you can see where it is there. So Vega C checking in there and saying hello to the teams. 안녕하세요, Bermuda. So we are traveling. Have a look there on the right-hand side of your screen. Underneath the trajectory, our altitude, 247 kilometers high and climbing, our distance from the pad. And on the right-hand side, our speed, which is 7.5 kilometers per second.
Yes, already 7.5 kilometers per second, so very high speed. So it's the equivalent to 27,000 kilometers per hour. So it's 30 times faster than a commercial aircraft. So very impressive speed. Yes.
Yeah, very, very fast.
Le pilotage est calme, la propulsion est nominale.
All's going well. The piloting and propulsion are nominal. So the main propulsion phase is now over. We've got away from Earth. We have started the next phase of our journey. The Avon Plus upper stage has taken the wheel, and it has a very important job, because not only does it have to take its passenger to its drop-off point in space, but it then has to deliver it.
Yes, so we need to take KasEOSat-1 to its orbit, so 576 kilometers above Earth, and to do that, we fire the